The stream's just preparing there. Take about 15 seconds.
Okay, that should be that now. Okay, Grania, the quorum has been met for the AGM to go ahead. If you'd like to commence the meeting.
That's great. Thanks a lot for that, Mark. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 2021 AGM of Volleyball Ireland. Thanks so much for taking the time today to attend. I suppose I'd like to particularly welcome anyone who's this is their first time at an AGM. And I hope you'll enjoy the experience and learn a lot from all the activities that have gone on. Even though COVID has hindered a lot, there still has been a lot gone on. I'd also like to particularly welcome the new directors that we have involved in Volleyball Ireland, because this is their first AGM. So we have Cliona Boland, Rachel Kilgallen and Stephen Morton, and you'll experience some of them later on in the presentation. There is an apologies from Derek McGrath, so one of our independent directors. Unfortunately, he had work commitments, so he wasn't able to, he didn't know about the date of the AGM in time to be able to change that. So apologies from Derek. Also apologies from Erica, who has gotten married over the last week or so and is back home enjoying her time with her husband on her honeymoon. So congratulations to Erica, and apologies from her, obviously, that she can't make it at this time. Okay, Clodagh, do you want to move on? What we've put up there is just, sorry, Clodagh, would you just go back, is the list of current directors, because I know there's been a lot of changes. So just to run through who the current board of directors are, is myself, Clodagh, Regina, who's taken the minutes busily at the moment, Rachel, who's the new treasurer, Erica, who, as we said, is not here, but she's a board member, Alfredo, Derek McGrath and Cliona Boland are our independent directors, and Steve Morton. So Rachel and Stephen have been co-opted onto the board for their skill sets, Rachel being financial and Stephen being strategy and high performance. So you will get a chance to hear Stephen later on. Okay. So if we can move on to the next part of the agenda, so the approval of minutes. So you've been sent the minutes out. You'll have been sent the 2020 AGM minutes and the 2021 EGM minutes. There was one error, just to call out on the 2020 AGM minutes, which is the attendee, Lena should be down as representing Santry and Clement as representing UCD. So apologies for that. We will make those amendments. So on the basis that those amendments will be made, has anyone any objection to the approval of these minutes? If you do, can you raise your hand, please? Mark, has anyone raised their hands? No. Okay, so we will consider those approved. Thanks for that. Clodagh, next slide. Okay, I just need to bring... Okay, so I will move ahead with my President's address. This is also available in the AGM pack that has gone out from the office. It is with a mixture of sadness and excitement that I am reading my last annual report as National President of Volleyball Ireland. Sadness as I'll be leaving the board when Volleyball Ireland is riding a building wave, and excitement as what is to come when this wave crashes over our shores will be thrilling. I have huge confidence in the continuing board, and I'm so impressed by the skill sets brought together by the various directors. Appointing independent directors to the board continues to strengthen the focus and decision-making process, whilst bringing more varied experiences to our strategy and vision reviews. I congratulate the board members that I've had the privilege to work with for some time, and thank Barbara, who has recently stepped down as treasurer, and welcome again the 4 new directors that have recently joined. The last year has been difficult due to the lack of physical activities, volleyball activities. I commend Gary and his team, Connor, Norma and Mark, on the extensive online work that they've done, covering a variety of efforts from player development to engagement through courses to club development work. There really was something for everyone, along with the opportunity to chat to some of our idols from across the world. A special call out for the launching of the long-term player development program, which has been the culmination of work over many, many years. I remember Des Curvin speaking about this when he was president. I think it was in Portlaoise that he had presented on this, which just lets you know how long it has taken to bring this project to fruition. Norma has relentlessly pushed for the use of our spare time to work on club development, and some superb online sessions on that, which can only pay back due dividends when clubs reopen. I also must applaud Gary on his work in building our relationships with Sport Ireland and securing so much more funding than we have ever had. Project-based applications are such a compliment when successful, as it is also Sport Ireland adding support to our initiatives. The same can be said when the Olympic Federation of Ireland, the CEV and the FIVB, where we are again, more times than not, having project-based applications favourably met. The continuing call from the CEV for Volleyball Ireland to be involved at European level, for example, as part of think tanks and development committees, is testament to how we were perceived outside of Ireland. Our various commissions have been tirelessly hard at work, and again, use this time to have a lot of engagement with the relevant stakeholders, which is great. Often we get so busy with our physical side of the sport that there is not enough time to set aside for developing, say, our referees, coaches, players, etc. Therefore, time has been used to bring training and development plans up to date. Thanks to all involved. It is not easy in spending so much time online, especially after long days at work, but we will reap the rewards as a result of the work that's being done. As you will know, we have launched brand identity, a new brand identity, as a result of a competition that we won. Again, well done, Gary, on that. And our new website. Thanks to Killian Bracken Conway and Vine Digital Ireland for their work Mark on the website, which we hope you will find much more user-friendly. Please always feel free to feedback any further improvement ideas that you have to Mark in the office, especially because it's the user feedback that helps us to make it a user-friendly system, you know. As ever, Volleyball Ireland is dependent on its volunteers, whether it's at club level or at commission and board level, and we congratulate those involved on what has been achieved during an exceedingly difficult year, and join with you in looking forward with excited anticipation to a much better year ahead. On a personal note, I would like to thank all board members, past and present, that I have worked with, and Gary and all in Volleyball Ireland staff for their unwavering support over my last 8.5 years on the board of Volleyball Ireland. There have been some lows for sure, but these have been far outweighed by the superb highs. And whilst I'm sad to leave when Volleyball Ireland is going on to get even better and amazing things, I leave it in the hands of an amazing team of people. I truly say that I cannot wait to see where Volleyball Ireland or Volleyball in Ireland will be in 3 to 5 years' time. As FIVB President Ari Grass has said at the recent World Congress that we attended online, we must continue to dream big and aim high. Thank you. Okay, that's me done, Clodagh. Unless anyone has if anyone has any questions, I'm not too sure that you would have questions on an address like that, but if you have, by all means, raise your hands at any point if you've. So we'll move ahead. Okay, so staff activities report, I'm going to hand over to Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Grania. Can everyone hear me okay, guys? Yeah? Okay. So, look, I know this year has been a year like no other, but despite all the challenges and the difficulties, there has been a lot of positives. The team are going to talk on their slides in a little bit more detail about the various programs and projects in their sections. But for me, I think the most positive aspect of all of this has been the way in which the club community, the commissions, the staff and the board have really come together to find solutions, to develop the COVID protocols and different various scenarios of competitions and so on and so forth. I really do think that the level of engagement across the organisation has been fantastic this year. And despite the difficulties, I just want to thank everyone here for playing a part in that. So look, getting into my piece, I'm going to focus on 3 key things today. I'm actually going to talk about what we actually do, right, as a governing body. And let's touch on our strategic objectives and some progress against those. And then I'll also provide the results from our recent stakeholder survey. Conor, Norma and Mark will then present their own specific programme updates. Also, just to add, there's a ton of information within the annual report. We've really tried to be as comprehensive as possible.
We lost it. Gary, we've lost you.
Guys, if you can just bear with us, I'll ask Gary to change his.
Well, it's the Wi-Fi. Yeah. Gary, we lost you there for a sec. Still lost him. Oh, no. He's going to switch to his hotspot.
Hi, guys. I think I'm back. Apologies for that.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah. Are you ready to move on to this?
Yeah, sorry. Where did I leave you guys?
You were just about to go into the report, I think.
Fantastic.
You're telling us what you do. You're going to tell us about what you do.
Brilliant. Okay, great.
Good job, I was listening.
Okay, look. So
Hey, Clara, it didn't give me that option. I think I
thought it would be useful to actually demonstrate the length and breadth of the work that we do as a small group.
Oh, I lost him again. Grania, should we go on to someone else's, the next report and then come back to Gary? Is that?
Sorry, let's do that. I keep getting muted. Let's do that, and I will give Gary a call to get that sorted. Yeah.
Okay. Connor, are you going to start?
Yeah, sure. So it's me then. Yeah. Happy to go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so afternoon, everyone. Conor Flood here. So I'm the coach education and the player pathway coordinator, and I'll just be talking, I suppose, through the next 2 slides for you. Claude, if you can just switch on a bit there. So as you can see, the first thing I'm going to discuss is the long-term player development model, or the LTPD model as we commonly refer to it. So some of you may be aware of this, some of you may not. So I guess a good starting point here, is what is the LTPD model? Well, it's best practice guidance, and it's firstly for players, but it's also for coaches, parents, volunteers, really anybody who wants just to fulfill their potential within volleyball. So the model, it's been globally accepted. It's implemented in countries all over the world. We've been able to tweak it and incorporate it here in Ireland so that anyone of any age or ability can find their place in it and then be involved with volleyball. So Grania mentioned at the start there, it's been coming for a long, long time now. And over the last year, we were kind of putting COVID restrictions to good use. We were able to design the model from a collaboration of club coaches, national team coaches, primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, Coaching Ireland staff, and the Education and Training Commission of Volleyball Ireland. And again, throughout the whole of last year, we kind of worked on that and came to a launch around November 2020. So look, moving forward then from here, this framework is going to inform our decision making. And what I mean by that is that when we go to design events or programs or formats or even training sessions, say from the physical literacy stage of 6 years old, right through to the elite high performers, we'll be taking guidance from the model there. If you look to the right of your screen, you'll see the diagram, and there's the 8 stages there that we've implemented here in Ireland, okay? To try and just give you, I suppose, a little insight to the amount of work that's been undertaken to date. Currently online, available to you, is a comprehensive breakdown, okay, of key objectives within each stage. So what that allows players and coaches and parents to do is to use those markers and not be skipping or proceeding through the pathway, too quickly, and ensuring that the right development is happening at the right stage. Also, we have coach handbooks there. We have parent handbooks. We have skill cue cards, and we have multiple manuals of, training sessions, drills, fun games, all for the different stages. And that's all using the best research and the most up-to-date science that we have out there at the moment. If you look below the diagram there, you'll see the 4 blocks. So in order for this to be a success, Volleyball Ireland must, support this model. And how do we do that? Well, we do that with sort of high-level coach education, okay? We need to provide quality competitions, as you can see, new innovative programs, and also on the very right there, you can see personal development, okay? It's not about just developing, fantastic players, okay? We want to also create good people from this model so that they can grow and develop as well. If you look around the top there, you'll see volleyball for life. We understand, not everybody wants to be a player. Yeah, okay. So we need to provide upskilling opportunities, as we said in the personal development box there, for club admins, volunteers, coaches, anyone inside the club that really wants to, again, grow and develop as a person. Now, what's next? Well, it's, I can only scratch on the surface here today, really. So it's just so complex, this model, that the Education and Training Commission will be setting up, an online session for, as I said, parents, coaches, volunteers, clubs, anyone to come along so we can all discuss the benefits of this model. And I guess from there, we can, begin to try and implement it correctly so that we can really, really see the impact in the next 5, 10, or 15 years in volleyball here in Ireland. Okay, Claude, if you go on to the next one, I can move down. So my second slide, as you can see, is a couple of different programs there that are coming up over the summer and into the indoor season. So I'm just going to go through these very briefly with you and just sort of highlight what they are. So the Junior Beach program, okay, the tour, that's a combination of, fun training sessions and competition days that are going to be hosted in the month of July. Now, look, we're all aware, yeah, Ireland has got home to some of the finest beaches in the world, okay? So we can use these natural free training facilities to really grow the sport rapidly. We definitely see volleyball as a 12-month sport. So therefore, by connecting the indoor to the beach, we can provide opportunities for the juniors or the adults to train and play all year round. So what's going to happen for this year? Okay, so we're working with 3 regional locations. That would be in County Meath, County Clare, and County Cork, trying to spread ourselves around the country there. We're going to establish, as I said, fun training days. These are open to anyone of any age, any ability to come along there and get involved, get exposed, and fall in love with volleyball. The second day is more competition, and that's going to be a more structured approach. So we're going to have under 20 competition, and that's going to be the standard 2v2. But for the younger ones, we're going to have a modified 3v3 competition. And again, that's taking guidance from the LTPD model that I've just spoken about. So the next one there would be the Beach Development Centers, and this is a new program, okay? It's really coming off the back and the success of the junior tour the last couple of years. And what it is it's allowing our higher level players that first step onto the pathway, I suppose, towards the national senior beach squads. If you sort of consider where we're at right now, we don't have a junior beach squad structure in place. So the need is quite an obvious one. I think as an NUGB, it's our obligation, but it's also in our strategy to facilitate these opportunities for our young players to take part and play. So what are we doing this year? We developed East and West development centers, and the reason for that is that we can, pair up higher level players within the region so that they can train multiple times throughout the week with each other. These centers are aligned with the new high performance framework, and I think Claude is going to discuss a bit more about that later on. What are we doing right now? Well, communications have begun, so we're looking to identify trial dates. We're targeting internal and UK competitions, and we're devising a training program for our athletes. How's it going to look this year? I suppose we're going to have 2 lead coaches. We're going to have 4 teams to kick off start with. Under 18s and under 20s, male and female in both regions. So the next one, there's summer skills sessions. We're getting away from the performance. We're coming back down towards the participation. So Beaches in July. This is going to take place in August. And what these are kind of half-day events, and they'll be hosted on grass from around 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock in their regions. What they do is they raise awareness, okay, of volleyball in that area, but also crucially and very important to us is we're going to re-engage with those players that were playing pre-COVID, okay? We're conscious of, I suppose, the effects of dropout. And I think by, launching programs like this, we can help get those guys back into the sport, okay? Staff coaches, local club coaches, they'll deliver these sessions together, and that's going to help develop the, club community links and also then drive participation from this into the club. As I mentioned, we'll be hosting 3 of these events in August around the country. And, as the indoor season opens up, we'll be communicating also with junior clubs. And if they have, the facilities to host these, we'll be working with them and trying to launch them in their areas as well. How does it look on the day? Well, throughout the day, the kids are going to engage with like fun challenges, okay, and fun games, very lighthearted. This is all about developing the fundamental movement skills and those volleyball specific skills. Again, as I keep harping on, but can't enough, it's all going back to the LTPD model guidance. So what's our out from here? After these programs, obviously the clubs then are going to provide opportunity for these guys to continue their volleyball experience. So young leaders, again, you might have saw this, and it's been pretty popular over the last few months. So what this is, it's a full day online course, okay? It provides young people with the opportunity of upskilling in both coaching and refereeing. So I guess in turn, what it does for us is it allows us to build capacity, okay, within the higher level schools and therefore raise standards. But it also exposes, new schools to that necessary knowledge where they can maybe, start to establish volleyball programs internally within the schools. So how does that look then? Over the period of the day, we have coaching in the morning, refereeing in the afternoon. And in the coaching section, we're looking at building philosophies, understanding law requirements, we're examining coaching skills, and they're just a few of the topics, okay? The afternoon, the referee segment, it's more about identifying volleyball rules, looking at levels of sanctions, and exploring the roles and responsibilities of the referee's team, okay? It's been a big success story, no doubt about it. We've seen schools, colleges, LSPs, we've even seen teams outside of Ireland sign up to this program. And in just the first few months of this year, we've seen a total of 21 courses, over 250 people, as I said, educated already to date this year. Looking forward into where this is going to take us, it's going to add an additional support to our already school programs. And again, allow us to continually raise the standards in schools year after year after year. So the final 2, as you can see at the bottom there, I'm just going to go quickly through these because there are 2 evolving programs at the minute. Play Volley. So Play Volley is it's a partnership program between the club and the NGP, and what it's about is increasing player participation, but also coach numbers. So how do we achieve this? Well, we're currently devising, a 4 or 6 week program there that's going to include, equipment support, resources, admin support. We're going to be working with the local schools, and obviously we're going to be educating parents all to try and deliver these goals. As I mentioned, consultation is now taking place with some junior clubs and trying to finalize this package and this program. It's going to be tricky. We understand that, different clubs have different needs, and so it's important that we get this package right, and it'll be ready for launching, Q3, autumn time once schools return. The final one there is the indoor development centers. Again, east and west, we're looking at setting up. Again, it forms part of the high performance framework, so Clodagh will discuss it. I suppose from my side, just to mention that, we recognize the necessity to support the needs and the development of our junior players, okay? And what I mean by that is the 12 to 17-year-olds. How are we going to do that? We will bring about facilitating monthly training sessions. Again, allowing the top level players within the county or region to train with other top level players in the region. We feel definitely the effects of raising these standards will also be felt back in their local clubs. So when they return back to the weekly sessions, they'll be bringing this all back to their players as well. Just to finish off, I suppose, both programs will be, as I said, going around the autumn and school time period, Q3, hoping to launch for them. Clodagh, over to you then. Or if anybody has any questions.
Grania, would you like to go back to Gary, or will we continue with the other two reports and then go back to Gary?
Let's continue with the other two and then we'll go to Gary at the end. Thanks.
Okay.
So Mark is up next.
Perfect, thanks. Hi everyone. Claude, if you just move on to the next slide, please. Thanks, Claude. Hi everyone, so as you'll be well aware, we have a new brand for Volleyball Ireland. In June 2020, Sport for Business announced that Volleyball Ireland were the winners of a €15,000 rebrand. From June through to November, we worked with Patrick Murphy from Brandon Sport and Eamon Hall from Eamon Hall Graphic Design. In November 2020, the new VLY brand identity was launched. How we ended up with this brand was that we wanted to create a brand that exciting, dynamic and vibrant, a brand that would put volleyball rather than the administrative body that governs it to the forefront. Using the abbreviation VLY rather than an acronym like most governing bodies do is a differentiator for us. It shows we are proud of our game and what it represents. With the sport like volleyball, it makes sense to put the sport at the very front and center of everything we do. Move on, please, Claudia. The multiple brand colors allow us to alter the design of marketing collateral, but never lose the standards and aims of having an exciting, dynamic and vibrant brand, exactly like the sport. Next, please, Claudia. Coinciding with the brand launch was the introduction of a new website developed by former international player and current DVC player Killian Bracken-Conway of Vine Digital Ireland. I must thank Killian for all his work that he has done on the website to date and everything he is still doing as we continuously develop new features on the website. In line with the brand, the website puts volleyball first and foremost, with a key focus on club activity and participation. Having a player design the website had massive benefits regarding insight knowledge of what players want to see. We want to make all digital platforms as appealing as possible to potential sponsors, showing them how we can promote their brand in collaboration with Volleyball Ireland. Next, please. Sadly, with COVID-19, we only saw 13 league games. However, for those that visited the league pages, would have seen the new slick look to the National League tables and fixtures. Each fixture also had its own event page, which is a brand new and much needed feature to the website. Hopefully going forward, we can create team pages and also have referees appointed to the game, which will be visible on the website in advance. Over the coming months, there will be new elements launched, such as the national squad player profiles, the VLY beach tour, park volley, and much, much more. Next, please. Since April of 2018, official Volleyball Ireland platforms have grown 119%. In particular, we have captured young members on Instagram with a 1,055% increase in followers. We push out the content on social media with the aim to convert a volleyball follower into an active volleyball player, coach, or referee. Throughout the pandemic, we've been one of the most active NGBs on social media. We do understand at times that quality is sometimes better than quantity. However, we made it our mission to keep people engaged during the dark days of 2020. Finally, as we look at club social media stats and pages, next slide, Claudia. As we look at club social media stats and pages, Club secretary should have by now already completed the Volley Growth Survey. On May 1st, we researched all 22 affiliated National League clubs and followers to establish a baseline measure and also to identify which clubs need assistance. Social media training for clubs will be conducted during the summer months before we go back to indoor volleyball. Clubs are more than welcome though to reach out to myself to arrange a one-to-one call or to meet with their social media team. Thank you.
So we'll hand over to Norma now for her presentation, please.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Norma, and I'm the Club Development and Governance Coordinator. So in the annual report, that would have captured a lot of the information on projects that I've worked on over the last 12 months. Continuing with the projects going forward, I wanted to focus on, I suppose, 3 new exciting projects that we'll be working on. So this is what my presentation will be focused on today. So the Volleyball Activator is the first of the programs. So what is the Volleyball Activator? So this person, they're organized, they're a volleyball enthusiast who runs social volleyball sessions within their club or within the wider community. And so why this program has come about is that we have received feedback from clubs who want support in growing their participation. So we have created this program with the aim to support clubs, grow participation numbers, thus increasing their participation, generating revenue for clubs, and also increasing memberships within a club and growing the sport as a whole. So at some stage, this program will also be extended to the wider community, the likes of local sports partnerships, or just people in the community who are interested in volleyball. And we aim to set up, I suppose, these type of hubs in areas where there are no clubs. So it would be a stepping stone towards getting volleyball into an area and then it transferring into a club a little down the line. So how these volleyball activators can get involved is you're nominated through your club and you attend a training day. You'll receive equipment and also resources as well to help get your sessions off the ground. We at Volleyball Ireland will also provide support through guidance from staff. We'll provide marketing material and we'll advertise your social volley sessions on our social media platforms and giving you extra coverage. We'll also engage with volleyball activators on a continuous basis to see how we can, I suppose, support activators going forward. If there's anything else that we can help to support, grow the sport and support the social volley sessions as well. So the next program I want to introduce you to is the Youth Council. And this is a new initiative and it is a subcommittee of the board made entirely of young people aged between 18 and 24 years. And the aim of this initiative is to give young people a voice within our sport and to make sure that they're heard as well. And at an NGB level. So that's where we're starting off, is at the governing body level. So why we want to do this is to increase the visibility of young people and give them a platform to have a say on matters that concern them within the sport, and for them to have an input onto programs that us adults create for them as well, okay? As much as I'd like to think that I'm still a young one, I don't know what a 16-year-old girl or boy wants, okay? That's the reality, unfortunately. So this is also an opportunity for these young people to do research projects and generate ideas, come up with solutions for volleyball. And an example would be, how do we keep our young people engaged in the sport, particularly around a drop-off rate? So we can task our youth council with finding the solutions to this. So basically, the youth council is going to be by young people and it's going to be for young people as well. So how they can get involved, okay? So the young person can apply to be on the council through the club. And at the minute, we're drawing up the terms of reference. So this will be launched in the next couple of months. The bones of a training plan is in place, the leadership training plan is in place, but this will be finalised once the council has been selected through their engagement, you know, to make sure that we are hitting the right notes for the young people. So as well as undertaking Volleyball Ireland projects, they can come up with their own projects as well that they feel are relevant and that they can run with also. So just looking, I suppose, a little bit down the line then, we will then support and encourage our clubs, so yourselves, to include these young people on your own club committee. And does have the same idea of give them the voice, let them be involved. I know a lot of clubs are already doing this, and we want to make this something that every club will do. We, Volleyball Ireland, of course, will support clubs in implementing this, and it'll benefit clubs because these young people will have gone through leadership training. So they're bringing these skills back to your committee as well, and just helping further improve club committees also. The last program that I want to show you is around Challenger Series. So what is the Challenger Series? This is a flexible recreational league that facilitates and encourages teams who don't take part in the National League or play very often in a structured competition to play more games. So we have a lot of recreational teams who we only see once a year because they take part in the likes of the East League, the West League, or the South League. So we want to make this more often so they can play a lot more often as well. And the idea is that these teams, you challenge other recreational teams to play matches, and it ensures that recreational players are engaged throughout the season, not just on a once-off basis. This is a stepping stone towards National League. So it will give these, people and teams and clubs time to formalize themselves, formalize the structure that they can prepare themselves to enter a team into the National League. It should be noted that the likes of social volley, that is the entry into the sport, if you like. So for new people coming in, they'll go into social volley. This is an opportunity then for the activators to take their social volley participants and take part in the Challenger League to get a little bit of competition experience, to build their confidence, and then thus progressing on to National League in the end. So how this will work is we will have a league table on the website so teams can view their progress, and you can see what other teams that you can challenge. The rules are flexible, and this gives teams room to organize the matches whenever and wherever you want, essentially. So I just wanted to give you a flavor of these 3 projects that are coming up. So if you do have any questions, I will take them. I'm not finished yet, though. I do have one more thing to go through. So if there's any questions on any of those 3 projects. Okay, if not, though, if you could skip, to Grow Volley. So clubs would be aware that we sent out a survey recently on Grow Volley. Excuse me. And what Grow Volley is, clubs fill in the survey on these various areas, their participation, people, the governance within your club. And this is going to set a benchmark for your club, okay? And we in Volleyball Ireland, we'll look at this and see where clubs want to improve. So if we take participation, for example, there's some clubs there who will say, in their survey, maybe they had 100 members, for example, and they want to grow even further. So this is an area that they flagged, we want support in this. This might be where the Volleyball Activator program comes in. So we'd help implement the Volleyball Activator program for the next year. And this time next year, clubs will complete the survey again. And the idea is that we want to see an increase. We want to see if the programs that we have suggested, if the development plan that we have helped devise for the club, if it has been successful, okay, if the supports that we have given have been effective or not. Okay, so this is the idea, and thank you to the 12 clubs. We have 12 submissions so far from clubs, and what I've done is I've just collated the information together. It's more of an informative slides, these next couple of slides, just to show you, I suppose, where we're at with those 12 clubs, and hopefully next year with the presentation we will see an increase on these numbers. So just quickly looking at participation, okay. From the 12 clubs, there was a total of 1,004 people playing volleyball. And you can see down the bottom left, I'm sorry if the writing is a little bit small, you'll see there's competitive adult, social adult, under 13 and 14 to 18-year-olds. So that's the breakdown of those who have been playing volleyball in the 2019-2020 season. And it's just interesting to see, like, even if you just look at the male and female comparison there, that there's 215 competitive female players, and there was 97 male competitive players. But then on the social side, there was more social male players than there were female players. So it's just kind of interesting to see this breakdown. Some of the supports that clubs suggested for the likes of participation was the likes of promoting awareness of the club's fun sessions, promote the clubs themselves, and to create some school to club links. These were the supports that they had requested. So moving on to the next, and then is the people. So we have coaches, referees, and volunteers. Again, this is the breakdown of the 12 clubs, a total of 169 volunteers in total, broken down into coaches at 53, referees 51, and volunteers there as well. Again, some of the supports here was some clubs have requested resources to help support coaching kids. So this is the likes of the LTBD plan. And this might be our fault that we're not promoting some of our existing programs enough to say, yeah, look, if you're looking for resources, you know, this is the program. Support. So you'll see a lot of clubs saying, yeah, we want more referees courses, we want more coaching courses. But then you have to look at clubs specifically who are saying, yes, we want referee courses. However, how do we get volunteers onto those courses? You know, we need the volunteers first. So this is where we need to sit down with individual clubs and come up with an individual plan for each club to help them achieve what their goal is. Governance and leadership then. So this is an interesting one. So again, there's a total of 79. So from the clubs, there are 79, I suppose, committee members, if you like. Bear in mind, there are people who are double, triple jobbing, okay? So we have to keep that in mind as well. And then the breakdown of male to female there as well. So Claude, if you move on to the next slide for me, it's a little bit of a scary slide, this one is. But what I just wanted to demonstrate here was the likes of the chairperson. So if you look at around between 12 and 1 o'clock, you'll see 11. So that's 11 of our 12 clubs had a chairperson in place during 2019-2020 season. The smaller ones would be some roles that are more individual to clubs. So you can see down the bottom, I think 1 or 2 clubs had an equipment officer. So some other roles, or an assistant secretary and assistant treasurer. And some of the supports that have been requested here was that clubs wanted education to grow the governance and leadership within their clubs. Another one was diversity training. So I actually had in the previous slide gender asterisk, and it was pointed out as well, which we should have actually realized, is we confined the gender to male and female, whereas we should be expanding our diversity to everyone else, okay, so other gender, if you like. So that's something as well that we have to take that learning from. Marketing and promotion. So Mark went through there about the statistics, if you like, of the social media platforms. If we can just move on to the next slide. So 91% of clubs had a Facebook page, 50% had Instagram, no one had TikTok or Twitter, and then 41% had a website, okay? So again, there was clubs who were saying that they would like support on this. Some of them were saying that they need younger people to come into the club to help take this over as well. So if we look at sponsorship and fundraising there as well, so in total over the last 12 months, clubs collectively through sponsorship and local grants gained €12,000, okay? And then fundraising activities was €2,000. So we, again, hopefully through training, again, suggested ideas was the likes of fundraising, training, funding information, like where clubs can find their local grants. And we hoped, again, to grow this. The last piece there is the club facilities. So this is the satisfaction rating of the hall, and it's actually relatively high. So clubs felt that their satisfaction was 6.33 within their hall. There was some clubs who said that they're not too happy, and then there were clubs who did rate their hall quite highly as well. And the same with equipment, just over 6.5, an average there with the equipment rating. So I know I've just flown through this pretty quickly because I just wanted it more informative for clubs to see. If we can go on to the last slide, because I do just want to acknowledge the clubs who did submit their Grow Volley survey. So thank you very much to you. And for any clubs who aren't listed there and want to get involved, there is still time to send on your survey. And this is for yourself. This is for the growth of your own club. So don't feel it's too late to send it on, because we will contact you and set up an individual plan as to how we can help grow this for you. So if there are any questions for me, I'm happy to take them. Okay, if not, I'll pass you back off to Gary.
Hi again, everyone. Sincere apologies for that interruption earlier on. As I was saying, I was going to set the context for the rest of the guys to talk about their own projects and programs through this slide here, which really, the aim of it really is to just kind of show and demonstrate really the length and breadth of the work that we do as an NGB, right? So the schematic that you see on your screen maps this out. It's broken into 6 areas. If you look on your left-hand side, which are color-coded, you'll see we have things like programs, competitions, and events. But then we also have a strategic pillars which section everything off and relate to our strategic plan, right? Then we have in pink what we describe as assets. So this is things like the website, the brand, the online shop, that type of thing. Things that we have and things that we use to grow, promote, and develop the sport. And then the final of the 6th one is our policies. And all of these different areas interlink in different ways. So I'm just going to kind of touch on how this works again, just to provide really a summary of what we do. So at the bottom, you'll see the whole organisation is really underpinned by what we call key policies. So this is things like company law or our constitution, and it also includes policies that we've actually developed ourselves, like long-term player development and high performance framework. So these policies guide and therefore influence our decision making on the things that happen above it. Okay, so that's how that works. The organisation is then really built on good governance and sound finances. So these pillars are the linchpin at the bottom. Okay, there is a direct link between good governance of an organisation and its performance. So this is the reason why we spent so much time the last few years getting the constitution right and going through the governance code adoption process. And we believe that if we have a smooth operating machine, everything else can flow from that. On top of those pillars, everything else is built really on good quality education and training of our volunteers and proper club support. We believe that this allows everything else to flourish. You can see from the slide that there are a number of programs within these sections, which Norm was just chatted there about Grow Volley, for example. So once we have good governance, sound finances, excellent education training, and strong clubs, we can then really focus on developing good programs and competitions that grow participation. Okay, this section of participation is mapped out on a spectrum from youth through to performance, so it kind of creates a bit of a pathway really, and you can see how the different competitions fit in. And then finally, at the top of the tree are our performance programs and national teams. For those to thrive and develop and excel, everything else underneath that really has to be working. Okay. Then you'll see off to the left-hand side, we have our communications work to try and celebrate and promote volleyball. So most of this stuff, you'll see the arrows are pushing outwards with, of course, the stakeholder survey, which I'm going to chat about next, coming back in, because the feedback that we get from you as members influences everything within this diagram. So I just wanted to briefly touch on that, just to demonstrate the wide range of things that we can do. You can see all the different competitions, all the different programs, the different policies that we've developed, the different assets that we have, all working together to try and grow, develop, and promote volleyball, which is our mission. I do genuinely believe, guys, when you look at this and then you compare the outputs that we have with other NGBs of similar size resources, I really do think that we punch above our weight. And this is really down to the fantastic work of the staff, the board, the commissions, and all the clubs pulling together in the same direction. So that's just a quick, brief summary of what we do. I'll probably develop a bit more detail on this over the next month or so and share that with the community. But as I mentioned, I just wanted to set the scene, albeit retrospectively, after the guys' presentations. So that's what we do. Next up, I'm going to chat through our stakeholder survey. So as you'll know, this is now into its 3rd year, and it provides a great opportunity for the community to share ideas with us for improving the organisation of volleyball as a whole. We are a members organisation, guys, and we value that engagement. We really do. The headline results are pretty good. We did have significantly less responses this year, I think we were 120 last year versus 40, 48 or so this year. You can see that the main scores there. Our success rating stayed the same, 72%. Our effectiveness rating as an NGB actually increased. Our image rating reduced slightly, and our net promoter score also reduced, which is interesting that the net promoter score reduces, yet our success rating maintains and our effectiveness rating goes up. Just so that you're aware, Net Promoter Score, or NPS, is a globally recognized tool, right? That is used for measuring customer satisfaction. It's used by a lot of global companies and a few sports bodies here in Ireland, and it gives us a good comparison against other organizations. Anything above 30 is considered as good. Anything above 50 is considered as a mark of excellence. So that's kind of where we are. Claudia, can you just roll me on there, please? So scorers on the NPS rating are categorized as promoters. So they'd be scoring as 9 out of 10. Passives, who are 7 or 8, or detractors, who are 6 and below. Okay. You then subtract the number of demoters from the number of promoters, and it gives you a rating. But more importantly for us guys is the actual feedback. So digging into that, you can see on your screen now the general areas of feedback that our members are giving us. Interestingly, a lot of promoters love the new brand, for example, scored as well there, and a couple of detractors really don't. But I suppose on that one, beauty's in the eye of the beholder a little bit. It is a bit of a paradox, right? So again, in some ways, you know, promoters really like the improvement we've done in coach education and all the online stuff that we've done. Yet some detractors didn't think it was enough. Okay, which again is quite interesting. But just on that, I really cannot stress how important and valuable this process is to us each year. It really does get the ideas moving and the creative juices flowing when it comes to planning programs and projects. So that's where we are, the stakeholder survey. A lot of information on this again in the annual report, which you can check out in more detail. So we also established performance benchmarks in a range of areas, and you can see on your screen there the scores, more or less in line with last year, all exceed 2019. With no competitions, it's no surprise that the rating for organising competitions has actually dropped. The leadership and governance score also dropped, which did surprise me, as I do believe that we've done some great work in this area with the adoption of the governance code and the appointment of the independent director. So that's an interesting one. For the year that's in it, we've added a rating for how we handled the pandemic, because we wanted some feedback on that. And that scored really well, 8 out of 10 across the board. I'm hoping and praying that question can be removed from the survey next year. But again, look, the metrics paint a good picture for us, but the devil is in the detail and the comments that we get back. And we again, this year, we got some really good constructive feedback and ideas. And when we put that with the Grow Volley survey and the club feedback, it really does influence and helps us grow our different programs. So thank you to everybody that completed the stakeholder survey this year and taking the time to do that. So normally I would spend a lot of time on our progress towards the strategic objectives, right? But with the pandemic, we just haven't been able to action a lot of this stuff. There is more detail on this in the report, but the summary is that half of the objectives that we set in the strategic plan are delayed because of COVID, but we think we can catch up on these next year. A third of them have been completed already ahead of time. 10% are well on track for completion, and about 10% are a fair bit behind, which we're being open and honestly, we may not achieve those targets. So that's things like the club mark. I think we have 3 clubs completed that so far, when we were aiming for 16, and there's a couple of others in there. Within the appendix of the annual report, there is a detailed commentary on every single objective that we have. And it also puts in place what we'll do in the actions that we'll be putting in place to catch up on these next year. So again, check out the annual report and you'll get a fair bit more detail on that. So that's the strategic objectives report for the last year. And with COVID in mind, we set some key objectives for this year. If Claudia, you can just bring those up. And these are really focused on getting volleyball back on track, up and running, and helping clubs to get themselves back on track and get players re-engaged with the sport. That's where the focus is this year. Norma's chatted about the club volley program already, the Grow Volley program, and that tailored club support we think is something that can really make a difference, and something that we are keen to nail down. There's a few other bits and bobs in there, which the guys have already touched on, so I won't go into detail there. As mentioned, again, there is a little bit more content on this within the annual report. So that's my whistle-stop tour, overview of what we do, results of our stakeholder survey, and then an update on our objectives planning. So thank you very much for that, and again, apologies for my departure at the very start of that. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gary, Connor and Norma, for that. I just want to congratulate you guys, even for your presentation. I remember when Alexander Borchich was over, the president of the CEV, one of the stark warnings that he gave was, you know, don't spend so much time looking back, but always be looking forward. What else can we do? And work very hard at achieving it. And you can just see, I think everybody can see how much staff are really doing that, you know, not resting on their laurels with any particular project or product that we have, but constantly looking to rename it, you know, relaunch it, make it bigger, make it better, taking on the feedback. And I just wanted to say congratulations for that, because it's a huge, I think it's a huge change even in the attitudes of how we're approaching volleyball, and you know, spending less time congratulating ourselves and more time on, you know, what else can we do here? And I think that's really, really coming out. So thanks for that. I'm going to pass over now for the commission report. So starting with Clodagh.
Yeah, thanks, Grania. Hi, everyone. As most of you know, I've been the board member who's directly involved with the Competitions and Development Commission. And as I'm sure all of you know, it was one of probably the quietest year we'll ever have. But just take a couple of minutes to recognise the work we have done. Also, this slide is a summary slide of the participation stats and so on. Obviously, we didn't get to complete any competition this year, unfortunately. So we had just the one. We did have the programme Connor mentioned earlier, and the Junior Beach Tour. That was a great thing to get kicked off in early last year. And then we dropped the numbers in terms of the teams on the regionalised youth league, obviously due to COVID. Interestingly, we had an extra few league teams enter as well this year. Unfortunately, they didn't get to play. And as you can imagine, the player licenses numbers were very down because of the season being cut short. I'm not going to go into detail on this Star Beach Tour. There's a few kind of teasers in this pack today about what might be coming, exciting news coming. We're not going to be revealing it today, but we'll be. Someone's just coming into my room. I'm presenting right now. So moving on to the Competitions Development Report, the National League Committee first, Management Committee, we did a whole load of pre-season preparation for multiple approaches for the season. So we knew things were going to change. So we basically, sorry, I can't believe she's coming into my room now. Fiona, I'm in the middle of a presentation, please. Sorry, I'm going to start again. We had those workshops before the season started, and we basically took feedback from the clubs and worked on multiple approaches to the season to see how just give as many options as possible, considering what we could foresee for COVID. Anyway, unfortunately, none of them worked out. We didn't get to play any of them, but there was a lot of thought and ingenuity and innovation going into how we might actually get to play volleyball and compete in a league. Also, just want to recognise that you know, a lot of the clubs had a huge amount of fixture constraints with halls not being available, or you know, and being restricted and stuff. And all that information was given to the National League Committee. And really, as usual, Kevin did an amazing job with the fixtures and to accommodate all of their requests. And again, a lot of hours went into that, but unfortunately, they didn't get to pay off. Also then, you know, we need to recognise the club's participation and preparation in the whole in the compliance to the COVID protocols. I mean, I know we've all really recognised the amazing work the office has done, and Norma has driven in terms of getting the protocols out, but there was many hours of work that went in from all clubs to make sure we could all get back on court safely. And it actually, it was interesting because it opened up a whole new channel for communication between clubs with the COVID officers having to check in advance and everything. So it was interesting to see the communication growing there for people. We had the score sheet validation process had kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit over the last couple of years for one reason or another, and it was recognised as a process needed to be put in place for the coming seasons. So Mark, Fiona and Denise did a lot of work on that at the beginning of the season. So we have that defined now, and we're all set to go for October when we hopefully relaunch our leagues. So there's some great work done at the beginning of the season there. And then obviously we had our null and void outcome. So I guess just to wrap up on the National League Management Committee, thanks to the team, as usual, they're always readily available and put in many hours of work. So thanks to Jennifer, Kevin, Fiona and Mark for their tireless work. A special thanks to Fiona. It's her first year on the NLMG, and she really just got dug in straight away and got up to speed and working on those score sheets with Mark and Denise. And I did want to call out special thanks to Denise, who came off the board earlier in the year, and then we didn't really let her get away too far. And so she kindly offered, as well as having a slight arm twist, to get her involved in the score sheet validation. So thanks for all your help there, Denise. So we just had a couple of quick stats we wanted to share, just interesting in terms of cultural diversity. You might just have a look at those diagrams. There's interesting spread. Obviously, the Irish players are still the majority, but there's such a diversity of cultures in volleyball, and of course the brand really. This is one of the focuses of the brand is to highlight our cultural diversity, and obviously the figures there on those diagrams obviously show that as well. So it's great to see, and it's I guess it's unusual for a sport as well to just have so many different nationalities involved. Then on the Beach Tour Management Committee, so we kind of, I guess it falls at an unusual cadence in terms of this report, but we did have, so the main beach tour for last year didn't get to be run. Unfortunately, it was cancelled, but we did, I'm sure you all saw it on Facebook and the social media as well, we did have that junior beach tour, which was incredible to kick off and launch. So congratulations to the under 19 boys winners, Gareth and Keane, under 19 girls winners, Laura and Maria, and under 15 girls, Emer and Laura, and under 15 boys, Conor and Neil. Okay, and there must be missing one there. Then again, teaser there is some exciting news afoot for the beach tour. So we'll stay tuned to that and keep an eye on the website and the various social media channels. So finally, on the beach committee, we just want to make sure to thank Miriam, Marie Claire, and Cynthia for their continued dedication and hard work. And they're going to be getting busy, very busy again over the next few months. So thanks in advance. The final slide here, just on the schools committee and the recreational competitions. I think that's something that's very obvious throughout the whole of this AGM and the report, that you'll see no one sat back and did nothing. There was initiatives and momentum on all fronts during COVID, and it actually has been given people time to actually push ahead with many initiatives that we might not have got to if everything was going full steam. So on the schools committee, they've been working on completed a competition restructure to align to the player pathway that Conor was talking about earlier. So that's all very interesting, and will be coming soon, and we'll hopefully see the fruits of that work starting in September. And of course, unfortunately, no schools competition took place. Likewise, on the recreational competition, we had the new Challenger Series Cup has been formulated, and again, the competition didn't take place, but we're all set to bring on new competition and new ideas when we get to reopen those doors. So that's me. If there's any questions, could you raise your hand? And if not, we'll move on to Alfredo. Apologies for the interruptions at the beginning. I don't think I'm able to ground anyone anymore at their age, but okay.
All right.
Don't think there's any hands raised now. Okay, go ahead, Alfredo.
Thank you, Claudia. I think with Claudia's interruption and Gary's internet, I need to become creative to grab your attention, guys. Anyway, that's the beauty of the new norm that we live in and the online world. So we're all real, and we're all very happy to be here. Actually, I was looking at the faces that are on this room, and it's really cool to see you all, guys. So thank you so much for being here. We're all looking forward to see you in person, and this is hopefully coming back soon. So I know that you've all received the AGM pack, where you have the details of everything that this group has been doing, which is really a lot. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the highlights and the achievements of the Education and Training Committee. I'm the board member linked to it, and I'm very thrilled to talk to you about those things, because really this year has been one of a kind. You know, COVID has put a stop to all the actions. We've all transitioned online. We know how fun it is to live our lives online. However, for us in education and training, we have actually leveraged the circumstances to deliver our learning offering in the virtual space, and we've really done a lot. Also, we've learned that trainings that previously were only delivered in person it's possible for us to deliver them online, which cuts costs for everybody, cuts distances, and this is an approach that we're really not going to abandon as we look at what we're going to do next. So let me take you through what has happened in the space of coaches and referees, and in the end I will give you a little teaser of what's in store for you coming up very soon. So Claude, if we go to the next of my slides. Thank you. All right, so when it comes to coaches, we're really focused on what could we do to improve, make sure that our coaches are up to date, and how we can cater to the different levels of coaches that are in the country. So the first thing that we did is that we launched the new 3-tier coach development program, which has been quite a success, with 46 people signed up. Despite nothing was going on, we had people interested in that and taking those programs. When we look at the tier 1, really, when we launched it, we didn't know what the uptake or the pickup would be, and we soon realized that we had to add additional sessions. So that's a very good story to tell. Also, when looking at the existing coaches, we thought at how can we make sure that coaches stay on track with current learnings, with current certifications. And this is why we have introduced the new CPD licensing system. So all of the coaches here in the clubs have received a new coaching policy a few weeks back. So I encourage you to take a look at them, because for the coaches that will renew their licenses in September, they will be required to accrue points through certifications. And so when 3 years are passed, they will need to have the minimum number of CPD points in order to renew again. Now, I know that this is very new. There will be an open night to take all of your questions in August. And the way we looked at this is really to make sure that we focus more on the quality of our coaches. And the other point is that we tried our best to make it achievable, so that the points are not put there to penalize anybody. It should be, from what we envision, it should be very doable. And we will all make sure that if at any point anybody we feel that they won't be there to be able to renew their license, we proactively engage with you, because the purpose of this is that coaches get certified, and when this happens, it's a win-win for both coaches, clubs, and Volleyball Ireland as an association. Speaking of Coaching Ireland, 37 coaches got accredited with the Coaching Ireland's foundation course, which is another good story to tell. And what it's really huge and has triggered the attention of international papers and international medias is that we've had the honor of working with international volleyball legends like of the caliber of Vanya Gerbic or Christophe Deleuze, who came into our sessions and delivered sessions on the LTPD system that Connor alluded earlier on, as well as creative with exercises. So as you can see, there's been a lot going on, and there is still more to do. We know that on the coaching space, we can do a lot, but today is about celebrating what's been done and what we've achieved. So this was for the coaching. If we go to the next slide, I'll talk you through what has happened in the space of our referees and match officials. So despite no much activity has happened in the past season, we were able to still certify new referees. We had 8 who got certified with grade 3, and we are looking forward to creating opportunities for those new referees to put those skills into place, as they didn't have an opportunity to really go and officiate any matches yet. One thing that Clodagh touched on when she also mentioned Denise is that we're looking at match officials, not only talking about referees, but also about scorekeepers or line judges for when we have those. So the first thing that we did last year was to introduce a new tutorial online for scorekeepers. The other things that we are doing is that as of next season, we're going to track those scorekeepers so that we know who they are. And with the system that we have in place, we can also see if there are any opportunities where we can help those scorekeepers improving the quality of filling out the score sheet. Again, the intent of this one is to improve quality. We don't want to penalize, and we're not going to penalize anybody, but it's a way to engage and work together to produce score sheets that are higher in quality. Another good thing that we did last September, I think it was the online bootcamp, which is the get-together that we arranged for referees before the start of the season, where we had 36 referees attending, and the feedback was really positive on that. So this is something that we are going to repropose as the new season approaches. We delivered online young leader course to 250 young talents amongst 21 different schools and colleges, which is another fact of what's happening in the world of schools, which is also a big area of focus of us. And last but certainly not least, I remember talking at the last bootcamp about how Vinny was preparing to become an international referee, or it had just become one. And I'm very proud to say that this time we can say that that journey is continuing, and Vinny has had his opportunity to be appointed very recently for an under-17 men's European Championship in Romania. So I'm sure that we will hear more about that. And if anybody wants to take this as an inspiration, this is really a fact that if you want to embark on that path, there is really space to grow and space to get to that level. Also, Vinny was with us and he helped us working on the bootcamp. So very grateful that we have this resource within our group. So this is really the highlights of what's happening in the space. I want to talk you real quick through what's on the pipeline and what we're working on. So let's go on the next one. So a lot going on in the space of beach. So stay tuned for both coaches and referees courses. Another pain point that we all know from clubs, and we can totally see that when we look at clubs that are struggling to find referees, is that we are studying how we can possibly centralize the referees appointment. So this means referees being appointed by Volleyball Ireland. Now, don't jump, because this is really too soon. We are at brainstorming stage. We know how we want to deliver on this. We need to look at the resources that are available to us. And to be really ambitious, what we are thinking at the moment is to pilot it for probably a couple of games in the next season. Now, more to come on this, but it's very exciting because this is going to be a big relief for clubs as well as a step further for the association as such. We will see the implementation of the CPD license scheme. And if anybody has any questions at any point, the commission is really one phone call away or one email away. So remember that we are in this together. And then I received recently the calendar of events and the summer programming from Connor, which is really exciting. So I know that I cannot say more because Connor said, don't spoil it, but really stay tuned because there is a lot coming your way, guys. As volleyball resumes in the country, we want to make sure that we are there and that we can deliver. Many of us will have staycations this year, so not much international travel. So really, this is the year to engage on that space. So last but not least, before I open for questions, is that it would be amiss of me if I didn't recognize the amazing people that work in the Education and Training Commission. So Des Caravan, Colette King, Declan Ryan, Michael O'Boyle, thank you so much for the work that you do, for the hours that you put into this. It is really appreciated, and it has been noticed at board level how this commission has grown in the past few months, and this is really appreciated. So thank you to all of you, and also to the Volleyball Ireland staff that is supporting us constantly. So with that, before I hand it over to Gronia, I would like to invite to see if there are any questions about education and training. And if there are, please let me know because I cannot see.
No, none there, Alfredo.
Perfect. So Gronia, back to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alfredo and Clodagh. Indeed, guys, what's gone on over the last period of time is just incredible, brilliant. Congratulations to everybody involved in all those commissions. All the work that's been done has been superb and is going to really help us to drive on into the future. I know Alfredo said there, to drop people the commission's emails if you've got specific questions, which might be a more comfortable forum for you. Those email addresses will be on the website or available from the office, just in case you don't know how to get in contact directly with them. So the next up for discussion here is from the High Performance Commission. I am delighted to introduce Stephen Morton, who will help to present this, I think, with Gary and Clodagh. Stephen is one of our co-opted directors who's bringing in the skill set of high performance and driving strategies in relation to same. God bless him, he's only just joined the board really, but has gotten straight in to getting involved with this, which is just fantastic. And I think you're going to be very impressed with what you have to hear. So Stephen, can I hand over to you?
Thanks, Grania. Definitely we'll be leaning on Gary and Clodagh here as well, but very kind of you. I don't think anybody's ever described it like that, so thanks very much. The one thing I'd start is where Alfredo finished, which was about the kind of open lines of communication and the connections to the sport. I think from my perspective, although this is high performance and at the kind of that end of the game, it's really important that people feel like that they can reach it and that they can communicate too. So don't be afraid of asking questions of me or the commission as it evolves. And I'm sure the coaches along the way as well will try and be as transparent, as open as possible. I might pass over to Clodagh to kick off, and then I'll jump in as necessary.
Yeah, it's actually going to be good. Gary's just going to cover firstly just the actual high performance update for this year.
Thanks, guys. So look, it's a similar theme in terms of obviously a lack of being able to be on the court throughout the year. So a lot of the programs have evolved to be moved online, and I think from Mark's perspective with the women's program, Andre with the men's, and Lulu with the beach, they've done so much work in the background to continuously engage players and the squad members. I mean, that you can see on your screen there, some of the people. I mean, the women's squad had Kerry Walsh-Jennings, I mean, probably the greatest beach volleyball player of all time, coming on and doing an inspirational talk to really motivate and infuse. Maya Polyak, serial Champions League winner. The men's side had Marius Pop, legendary Romanian volleyball coach, as well as some up and coming high performance players from different countries and professional clubs that again have really inspired and have motivated those young players. Look, the guys have played and trained when possible, right? I know the beach, there was the 10 strong squad got out a fair bit last summer and have just started training again this summer. I think the women's team had 2 weekends we got in between restrictions. So there's been stuff going on when possible. I think one of the main things I want to call out from this brief update is some of the work that's been done around mental health. I think particularly with Andre's team and the men's program, recognizing that this time throughout the pandemic has been difficult for everyone, right? But for young people, teenagers, I think it's been increasingly difficult because they miss that social development piece and that social contact. So they've done a lot of work around engaging players on well-being and bringing in a mental health specialist to talk to the players to understand if there are issues there and what they can do to help. And I just think the volleyball training and the volleyball education piece obviously is vital, but there's a lot of work going on away from volleyball, focusing on people and people development, which I think can only be applauded. And I thank the guys for all their time, the work and the effort that they've put in to keeping the guys engaged and developed through the difficult time. We will have good news in terms of national squads returning to training, both on the beach, which was last week, and then we're looking to trial some stuff in partnership with Sport Ireland in early June. So that's some good news. We'll have more information on that in the coming weeks once all the protocols, etc., have been signed off. So the main focus really of this update is to chat about the high performance framework. So Stephen mentioned the Commission have been working on that. And this is something which is getting closer to publication. So I'm going to hand over to Clodagh, who is going to chat through this piece.
Thanks, Gary, but not for long. You're back on the next slide. So I'm just going to introduce it. So you may or may not have heard of this. It's been worked on for certainly, I think, over a year. And thanks to those people who worked on it already. And I think, as you all know, Jeff King had put in a lot of work in the beginning and has done a lot of the foundations of it. The purpose of the high performance framework really is to try to provide a framework for the future for our squads and for our high performance, obviously. The vision is to create a high performance system that allows Irish national teams to reach their potential through regularly competing for medals at an international level. And you'll see there on the right, there's the 6 kind of pillars that we'll be working through. And Gary's going to today, we just want to give you a flavour of what is in it. And we'll also give you an update at the end of actually what's the plan in terms of launching it. But first we'll give you a flavour. Gary will hand over, take on the guiding principles.
Thank you, Clodagh. That's great. So yeah, look, this is really drives everything, right? So the Commission, in consultation with coaches, with players, we came up with these core values really that underpin division and support the framework. So decision making and how we derive the policies from that comes from these core guiding principles. And it's things like having a long-term focus, right? We ain't going to be able to go from our world rank, our European ranking at the moment, which is pretty much at the bottom of the pile, to winning medals, right, in a couple of years. It's a long-term focus. It has to align with the long-term player development model, and that will be a key consideration as well. We'll try to develop a system, right? Yep, we focus on the people within that, but we want to create a model that once head coaches step away, somebody else can replace them. There's that continuity, right? There's a way of doing things. There's a few other key call outs here. I mean, things like creating a positive journey, right? When a young player comes into our performance pathway, we want them to enjoy it. Okay, we want them to be promoting volleyball and Volleyball Ireland to their friends, their colleagues, their families, and so on. A couple of other key principles that I want to just mention, call out, is around ambition. Okay, look, we do believe in ourselves. If we don't believe in ourselves here, guys, no one will. Okay, as a small country, Ireland does achieve great things in all walks of life. There's no reason why we can't do that within volleyball as well. We do believe we have the people that can drive success. Another key one is around focused investment, which I'll touch on slightly later. And this is really around supporting and being able to help the squads develop and grow, and understanding where best use of that investment is. And finally, this concept of Team Ireland at the bottom there. We want a Team Ireland approach, where there's a consistent approach to how we brand the teams, how we promote them, how we showcase players, all the policies within that as well. So we are one Team Ireland across our men's programs, our women's programs, and our beach programs. So those are the guiding principles. Also as well, we will be focusing, the framework focuses on the roles, responsibilities and structure to give clarity to people, so everybody understands their key roles and their function within this, from players to coaches to administrators right through. Next, we have policies and procedures, and again, re-emphasizing that consistent approach to everything that we do. Things like player selection processes and policies around that. The way the framework will work is that it's effectively a 10-year plan. We provide the framework for the coaches to work within and develop their own program strategies within that. And again, just having that clear and consistent approach. The framework also covers a performance pathway. So this is aligned to the LTPD program. And this is really about mapping out what each child, particularly for young players, should expect at each age, progressing right through to the senior team, and also puts in place the support programs around that pathway. And funding and investment. So again, this is a key pillar of the framework. So it's about providing the core base funding for all teams, and then how we build on that. So again, I come back to the what we do presentation from earlier. You'll notice within there's a piece around sponsorship programs, for example. So that kind of links to this. So that section really is about how we go and how we financially support and how we invest in our national team programs. And again, that coordinated approach. We do believe that with everyone pulling together, men's, women's, and beach in the same direction, that makes us a lot more appealing, a lot more attractive to potential funders, potential sponsors. And then, of course, look, the last key part is performance targets, right? We want to measure the success of this thing, and we're going to put in place ambitious targets, but we believe that we can achieve them. As Grania mentioned in her address about dreaming big and aiming high, that is absolutely the principle for this thing, okay? We do believe that with a structure and a system and support of players, support of coaches, support of people involved, we can win medals and we can compete. There are some stretch targets in there. We would love to have a team represented at the Youth Olympics, particularly in beach volleyball. We want to be competing in the gold and silver matches at small nations level, I think, as a minimum, to be honest, within those timescales. So the performance targets are mapped out. They're ambitious, but we do believe we get this thing in place, we can achieve them. Again, there's more information will be provided within the final document. So as I mentioned, it's not going to happen overnight, okay? There's 3 phases to this. The first couple of years is around building the pathway, getting the programs in place. So that's things like the development centres that Conor mentioned. It's things like establishing the player volley program from a club perspective. It's about the coach education and the 3-tiered approach, getting them programs embedded, getting them working. That'll then allow us a little bit further down the line to become competitive, where we can get into those final round matches and high-level competitions. And then finally, once we have those things in place, there's no reason in the last phase, we expect that we'll be competing for medals. By 2028 to 2032, the kids that are coming through the development centre program now will be in peak age for representing Ireland at a senior team level. So we believe that at that stage, this phased approach will be bedded in, the program will be bedded in, and we can be actively looking to be winning. So that's a bit of a roadmap. There is targets and there's actions within each stage of this, which again, as I mentioned, we'll publish with the final document.
Yes, Gary. Yeah, so that's the overview, and I guess just wanted to close it off by giving you an update on the current status. I mean, obviously it's huge for us that Stephen has joined us and is going to be taking ownership of this and running with it. Clearly, it has the buy-in of the board, and this is the kind of the vision that Stephen is going to be able to spend his time on in the next while to actually drive this home. So the current status is the document has been through a number of iterations, and we're kind of at the finalising stages with the High Performance Commission, and obviously with Stephen coming in with some extra new ideas there as well. So we're working through weekly a number of topics that we're going to hopefully, which will form the final document. And then we will still do another couple of passes of that then when the High Performance Commission and Stephen believes it's at a ready state to share further and have further discussions again with existing squad personnel and so on, and anybody else to talk through it. So we've aggressive targets on this. Stephen, I think, is going to be busy. We're hoping to have the document finalised. The target date is August 30th. I mean, it is quite mature at this stage, and there has been a number of discussions. So we really are hopeful that we'll achieve that. And then really from the next day, we want to start implementing the high performance framework. So that's the current status. In terms of the squad's personnel who are on the call and everything, there will be further discussions, and this document will be shared, and for people again to dig into the details. And don't be worried that it's completely finalised yet. It's not. There's still room for discussion, but we are moving to finalise it. Okay. So if there's any questions, we'll take them now. If not, I'll hand back to Grania.
No pressure.
Sorry, Stephen. I was going to do. Would you like to add anything apart from no pressure?
No pressure. Yeah. I'm just looking forward to the opportunity. The people that I've met so far, everybody, including someone like Jeff, has been really impressive in terms of the passion and the kind of commitment to get volleyball where we all want it to be. And it's just kind of tying those things and connecting the dots really. And just for me, it's about facilitating that process and facilitating the energy in the right way. And I look forward to it.
Thank you. It's great to have you, and we look forward to you doing all that. Okay, Grania.
Yeah, I second that. Guys, this is just so exciting, and I just think it's so important not only to have a framework, but that we actually operate within the framework once it's in place. And just, to ensure that continuity and that we're pushing ahead all the time instead of having to go back and restart all the time. So it's very exciting. So congratulations to everyone involved. And I'm sure lots of people will reap lots of rewards from the work that's been done. Okay, so the exciting part of the AGM is the presentation of the financial statements. I know you all turn up specifically for this and love it every year, but it is very important that you know where the money is coming from indeed, and going. Can you move on to the next slide there? It's going to be quite a quick presentation, to be honest, because as you know, obviously so many projects did not go ahead this year. But it didn't stop us applying for all the grants and all the rest that are out there. And as I say, Gary is superb at applications for money and for putting forward projects in such a way that it just gets buy-in, and we have such success. So that being said, the income, it says there, has dropped by 40%. It's not that the money that we've received has dropped by 40% at all. But there's a principle in accounting called matching principle, which means, you can't in one year put all your revenues or your income into your profit and loss account and not have any expenses against it, because obviously in that year you'll have a humongous profit, and the following year when you hit the cost you're going to have a huge loss. So they match it, saying you bring the income in at the same time. So we have what you call deferred a lot of our income and grant income and all the rest. For any projects we couldn't do, we've deferred it over to the balance sheet. It'll be sitting there. When we look at the balance sheet in a second, you'll see that the bank amount has gone up. Our balances have gone up because we've received money, but we just haven't spent it yet. So that money is sitting there ready for the projects to kick off again. And, the staff are ready to go, basically, to get on with spending that money and getting those projects. The good news, if you can see from the slide, is our income and expenditure basically moved by the same amount, basically, or give or take the same percentage. So our surplus is staying around the same amount, which is good. At the end of the day, we've kept our head above water. I know some of the things that Gary has done as well is, and Mark, is to look at what costs that we can apply for reductions in, like the rental costs and stuff like that they've been working hard on, saying, hold on a minute, we haven't had a chance to use the office, why should we pay for the rent? And they've succeeded on numerous areas of cost to get some wins there that we probably won't see the effect in the accounts really until the following year, until the 2021 year. The key drops there, are spelled out for you there. I'm not going to spell it out for you. You can see it yourselves. It's obvious, that we didn't do international events. The squads haven't been able to do things. We've had Jessie has had a maternity leave, so we saved on her salary, and actually she's gone into full-time parental parenting. So we have saved on that salary as well, which all helps to keep the organisation afloat during this very, very difficult times. Claudia, do you want to just flick onto the balance sheet there for a sec? So the balance sheet, again, I suppose just to call it out, you can see in the cash that our cash has dramatically gone up. You see cash and equivalent there has gone up to 369 grand versus 2019 of 175 grand. It's not, it's not that we're not spending money. It's not that we all of a sudden have had windfalls, etc. That money is, obviously it's gone up because of what I've explained. We've deferred the grants, and we have that money sitting in our banks ready to go. You'll also see that creditors have gone up in the same way, and that's the deferral of those grants. So pretty much the differential between what the cash has gone up by, our creditors have gone up by for the deferred grants. What I'm going to suggest is if anybody has any particular questions that there's a lot of detail in the annual report that has gone out before. I'm sure you'll trawl over these pages with absolute interest. But, people do have questions, and you're entitled to ask questions, and you should ask questions and understand what's going on. As I say, it's a funny year because of COVID, because there's so little activities. But, that being said, maybe it's a time for you to get into understanding how the accounts, what they're telling you every year, because you should, as a member of Volleyball Ireland, you should understand where the money is coming from and going, as I said at the start. So if anybody has any questions, please put up your hand and I can answer specific questions. I'm going to...
No questions.
No questions. Okay, so I'm just going to say if anybody does not agree with approving the accounts, we'll do it by exception because we need to formally approve the accounts. Can you raise your hand now if you do not formally approve the accounts? Okay, I'm going to take it that those accounts are formally approved. Thank you for that. We'll proceed with getting them submitted to the company's registration office. The next thing that we need to do is appointing the auditor. Again, it's a formality. They do a really good job for us, and the good news is that the audit letter didn't, it doesn't call out anything that we need to be concerned about. But they do a very good job in kind of asking a lot of questions and questioning what we do and how we, what control we have in place and stuff like that. So it's a really, really good thing to happen every year to make us think about, have we definitely got good safeguarding in place and good controls. So if anybody does not agree with the appointment or the reappointment of the same auditor, Searing Point Limited, can you raise your hand now? No, I can't see anything there. So we will consider
all good.
Auditor Searing Point Limited approved for the next year. Okay, Moving on, Clodagh. Okay, well, this is very exciting because there's a lot of change coming for Volleyball Ireland. The positions that are up for election this year are President, Vice President, Secretary and Treasurer. And just the President and Vice President are basically because of one is moving into the other, so one becomes available. So the President, the only nomination received was for Clodagh McCanna. As nobody has come against it, there's no actual election required. So she can be deemed elected, but I would like to give an opportunity that if anybody has an objection, can you raise your hand now? And I'm delighted to say that there's no objection raised, and Clodagh is deemed the next National President of Volleyball Ireland. Congratulations, Clodagh.
Thank you.
Moving on then to Vice President. Obviously, Clodagh was the Vice, so that position becomes available as a result of Clodagh moving into the presidential role. The only nomination received was Alfredo. So I'll do the same thing. If anybody has any objection to Alfredo Alva being appointed the new Vice President of Volleyball Ireland, can you raise your hand now? Okay, I'm delighted to say that there's no objection there either. So Alfredo, congratulations. You are deemed appointed the next Vice President.
Thank you.
The secretarial role, Regina is the incumbent and was willing to go for election again. And Regina, or sorry, nobody else has come in against that. No other nominations have been received. So again, I will give a second there for objections. If you want to raise your hand, if there's any objections. And there are no objections raised, so we will move ahead. And Regina, congratulations. You will continue as Secretary of Volleyball Ireland. And Rachel Kilgallen has been nominated for the Treasurer role. Rachel is one of the co-ops we brought in for her skill set and the financial skill set. And she has been fantastic already, you know, bringing it to our attention. So it's really good to have Rachel in. So again, I will give a second if anyone has any objections to this. And there's no objections, so we'll move ahead. And Rachel, congratulations, you are deemed. I can only say best of luck to the whole new board. I hope it is a very, very successful time for you all. And Clodagh, can we move on? So the next one is motions. There were no official motions received from any clubs, so there's nothing to discuss here. So can we move on? And AOB. So here it gets opened to the floor. And guys, this is your opportunity to speak. And if anybody has anything that they would like to bring up at this point, please raise your hand and Mark will unmute you and let you speak.
No, nobody.
No, nobody has anything to bring up?
Yeah, sorry. Well, if there are no other questions, I will ask something, if you don't mind. Can I just check there's no other questions from clubs? Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen. Get myself sorted out here. Obviously today is a very big day for some of us, and really before Gráinne performs her final task of closing the meeting as President of Volleyball Ireland, I'd like to take this opportunity to say a few words on behalf of the board, behalf of the staff, and behalf of the members of Volleyball Ireland. I've been stewing over this stewing over what to say upon Gráinne's departure for a while. The term big boots to fill kept springing to mind. But I was never really comfortable with that, because that more kind of explains the work that my fears for the work that I have to do and the responsibilities I'm taking on, rather than reflecting on the work she has done. So I am going to reflect on the past for a little bit today, although I know that's not recommended all the time. So for the last few minutes of this, I just want to, I went back and I looked for more phrases that would better describe the work that Gráinne has done. And I found the following. The first really is that you've laid the foundations. I think Gráinne has made incredible progress on laying the foundations for the future of volleyball in Ireland. She made the brave move a few years ago to hire a general manager and to make all the staff full-time. She's really put in incredible work to re-establish the commissions and even the board in a very strong position with a great handover in place as she moves on. So I truly believe you have for sure laid the foundations for the future of volleyball. I also found appropriate that you've paved the way. Gráinne, you've paved the way for great things ahead, establishing and driving the strategic plan, developing strong and long-lasting relationships in the CEV and FIVB. You've opened doors for Volleyball Ireland that we just have to walk through. You've taken great responsibility. Really, like, you've taken on this responsibility. You've put in incredibly long hours. You've worked, you've worked extra hours for, especially like during the phishing scam and so on, when you put in your own personal time to recover that. You've worked meticulously overseeing every figure in those accounts. That is one of my biggest fears, that I have to pay more attention to it. Every message, every document, every project that we do that is done in the name of Volleyball Ireland, you've worked tirelessly and endlessly to achieve excellence. You've set a high bar. Gráinne, you've not only set a high bar, you've set a new bar. You're way up there, higher than anything we've done before. The work you've done on the board during your tenure has been incredible. Just looking at that Continental Cup, for example, the bar has been set for this and many other events like this in the future. Never will volleyball in Ireland say again that we're too small or we can't compete. I could go on, but I know we're running a little bit over time, so I'll finish on a classic. You've been an inspiration. Yes, Gráinne, like, you've been an inspiration to me, many others in volleyball in Ireland. You've inspired us to aim high and dream big. You've inspired us to not settle for the status quo and to believe that volleyball in Ireland can feature on a much larger scale in the world of volleyball than we've ever thought before. I consider myself a very lucky person. I'm very glad I'm taking over from you because you've done so much of the hard work. You've built a strong team, a strong board, a solid, aggressive plan. I know you'll be there for us going forward, just with a different hat on. I know we can rely on you for your future support and guidance on our journey ahead. You and Volleyball Ireland, you have my commitment that we will continue to build on your legacy and strive to achieve the strategic plans and goals that you've created for Volleyball Ireland. I know that not everyone will understand the next few words, but this is Irish volleyball, so I think it's appropriate we wrap up on our native tongue. Gurv Mila Mahagut Gráinne, son Pel Echlog na Heron, Ganari and Thalat, Le Gokra the Yenitu, Tosulagwing Gamemij, a Gober Lakela, Gominik, Oshoamok, Slongafol. Thank you. And I'll hand it back to you, Gráinne, to close the meeting.
I don't know if I'm capable of speaking now, Clodagh, so probably what you wanted to achieve. I do feel quite emotional after that, and thank you so much. And yeah, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I gave a lot of time, but it's time I loved giving, and I've loved every bit of it. Okay, not the fishing bit. I didn't love that bit, to be honest with you, but to see how everybody came together to really help Volleyball Ireland get over that was incredible as well. So thank you to everybody for those words, Clodagh. And yeah, thank you to everybody that has worked with me over the period. I won't always say that I've always done the right thing or approached things in the right way, but I've always had volleyball at heart for sure. And I think people have seen that. So on that note, I'll just give last opportunity. If anybody has anything that they want to raise, flag your hand there and Mark will unmute you. No, okay, so I'm going to officially move ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I just would ask if once you close the meeting, I wouldn't mind if people could hang on another minute, please.
Okay, so I'm going to officially close the 2000.